Have you ever watched someone less experienced than you land an opportunity you wanted and thought to yourself, why wasn't I considered? Yeah, me too. I've been there. Early in my career, I missed out on a big opportunity. It wasn't a promotion, but it was something around leading an initiative. And by leading this initiative, I felt that it would certainly position me for promotion because of the executive team that I would have access to and visibility and all the things. And so when I asked my manager why I wasn't considered, her answer hit me all up in my face, okay, like a ton of bricks. She said, I didn't think you were interested, Candia. And that moment taught me a few hard truths because here's the thing. I knew I was a hard worker. I knew I was good at my job. I was a rock star at my job. At that time, I was a learning and communication consultant working with companies during their most pivotal moments. And so my role had two key focuses. First, I helped companies tell their story, whether that meant launching an internal campaign for employees or external campaigns for customers. But where I really thrived was in change management. And so you think about most organizational shifts, mergers and acquisitions, new technology rollout, or fundamental changes in how business gets done. I was the bridge between big changes and the people they affected. And so typically, my team's mission was to make complex transitions feel a little bit more manageable. And so we would answer questions such as, how do we prepare people for what's coming? What processes are changing or going away? How do we get buy-in from our clients or from key stakeholders in the project? And so essentially, when I think back on that role, I learned a few harsh truths. One, hard work doesn't speak for itself. You've got to speak up for it. Being great at your job isn't enough. Being a rock star at your job isn't enough. You have to connect with the hearts and minds of the people who make decisions about your future. Now, I know some of y'all might be thinking, shouldn't good work speak for itself? Absolutely. What I will say is I understand different cultures and workplaces value different approaches. Some celebrate modesty while others reward vocal self-advocates. The key is finding the right balance for your environment. The right balance for me comes down to connecting with the heart and the mind. And so when I talk about connecting with the heart, that comes down to your ability to get to know people beyond their job description, get to know their world. What are the things that they desire? What are the things that they struggle with? What are some of the challenges that they're faced with and are looking to overcome? And all those sorts of things, right? And so one of the things that I've learned, especially started out in consulting, I recognized that relationships will take you places that your degrees or money cannot. And I know it's often said, don't tell people your dreams or don't tell people your vision. And I think that's a freaking BS. Now, friendly reminder, BS stands for your blind spots and belief systems. But anywho, what I realized is that when I think about the opportunities that I have received this year, most of them, I would say 90%, came from my relationships rather than my degree or even my qualifications. I don't even know where my degrees are now that I think about it, but you know what? That's a story for another day. So ultimately, I don't really buy into this idea about don't tell people your dreams or your vision and all sorts of things that social media streets say, because I do believe that you have to let some people in. Because when people get a better understanding of what it is that you want in this life or for your career or what it is that you desire or what it is that you want to change or what you're about, they will speak your name in rooms that you are not involved in. The right people will speak for you when you're not in the room. Success isn't a solo sport. Shout out to Minda Harts. I heard her drop that statement in a room a few years ago, and I've never let that statement go. You've got to let people in so people can help you, so people can speak for you when you're not in the room. And I am incredibly thankful for the many opportunities that I've had this year alone, keynote speaking, long-term 7-month contracts for my company that is extending into 2025 on top of another contract. So I am incredibly thankful for those people who spoke up for me. And it came down to the fact that a few people said, oh, this opportunity sounds perfect for Candia. This is what she's into. This is what she likes to do. This is what she's been waiting for. She's a perfect fit for it. Here's another harsh truth. Waiting and hoping to be picked isn't a strategy, okay? Waiting and hoping and praying to the Lord about the things that you want to happen is not a strategy. You've got to make it known and make the ask for what you want. You ain't got to go praying 50 gazillion times. The Lord has heard you. It's time for you to take imperfect action. The biggest obstacle to your next opportunity, it isn't competition, because that's what we typically think, that our obstacle is that there's too many people trying to do the same thing that we're trying to do. And so the competition is thick or the market is saturated. The biggest obstacle to your next opportunity is your mindset, along with unclear communication. You see, a lack of clarity and specificity about your vision scares the opportunity away. But when you get clear about where you are and where you're headed, that's when the shift happens. What's good, party people? It's your girl, Candia, your personal hype woman on a mission to help you show up and speak up anyway, despite fear, uncertainty, or self-doubt. So today, I want to talk about making your value known to those that you work with so they can mention your name in the room when you're not around. I also am going to share a few examples on how you can specifically communicate your value. And guess what? I got a little surprise for you, okay? Midway through the episode, special bonus, so stay tuned. Anywho, a lot of us, we lack confidence because we're not clear on our vision or clear on our value. And here's what clarity can unlock for you. When you're clear, you make confident decisions because you know where you're headed. You have a laser focus, so no distractions is pulling you off your game. When you're clear, you attract what matches your mission or what is aligned to your vision. And the steps toward your vision becomes a non-negotiable for you. So even if someone comes to you with an opportunity, you're saying to yourself, if this opportunity doesn't align with my vision, then my answer is no. When you operate in a space of clarity, you also have an impactful leadership presence because your influence becomes inevitable. You have an ability to influence people's thoughts and their behaviors. And here's another thing. I realize from coaching and training leaders who struggle to communicate what they need or their value, especially when it comes to landing a promotion or gaining executive buy-in. The biggest mistake that we make is selling the activity of what we do instead of the value our ideas bring to the table or the value our experiences bring to the table. So right now, I'm wrapping up one of my leadership development programs with a nonprofit organization. The group includes managers and directors, and they are preparing to do this ultimate pitch to their executive team about this strategic plan that they've come up to increase retention in the workplace. And so I realized when working with them, and this is a common problem that I see, that they often default. Well, let me say this, they're better now because I'm so proud. But anywho, I realized from working with them that we often default to describing how we spend our time attending meetings, managing people, writing reports, managing relationships with clients and all the things. But that's just noise. It's just the checklist of duties that, frankly, anyone with your job title could rattle off. Your value isn't in the task you complete, it's in the outcomes you create. So for instance, instead of saying, I manage a team of 10, you want to showcase the value of managing that team of 10. You showcase the value by saying, I've built a high-performing team that consistently exceeds targets by 30% or 20% or whatever. Instead of saying, I handle client communication, you want to emphasize the impact of that. So you might say, I secured a 90% client retention rate through creating clear, engaging, and compelling communication. And let me address something important here, because not every valuable contribution can be measured in numbers. So when I talk about outcomes, I'm not just talking about metrics. Sometimes value shows up in the quality of relationships. Sometimes value shows up because you bring stability to the team, or you support the team in such a way that everything runs smoothly. These less visible roles are absolutely essential to those hardcore numbers, or that we often emphasize as well. But ultimately, I want to emphasize why this shift matters. When you sell activity, you sound replaceable. When you communicate value, you become indispensable. So this comes down to asking yourself, what's the result of my work? How does my work improve outcomes for my teams, clients, or organization? Another question might be, what's the ripple effect of my efforts toward the vision or mission or even core values of the company? Now, let me share an example from one of my major workshop clients. The company lives and breathes their core values. It's woven into everything that they do. So when employees can demonstrate how their work embodies these core values and company vision, it really catches leadership's attention. And so this brings me to a crucial point about value. In my experience, value typically shows up in 4 ways: saving someone time, saving them money, reducing friction, like taking the hassle out of a process that's typically 10 steps, and now you can reduce it down to 4 steps, or even creating a sense of belonging. So when you think about saving time, maybe it's automating a manual process. You think about saving money, maybe it's reducing waste or inefficiencies in a process. When you think about reducing friction, you may be, again, you're taking the hassle out of things. And lastly, creating belonging comes down to your ability to build an inclusive team environment. But ultimately, this is key. How value is perceived depends on who you're trying to persuade or who you're trying to influence. And so while these 4 areas are common, what matters most to your specific person that you're trying to gain buy-in from for the job or for the initiative that you want to launch, it might be different. And that brings me back to my initial point of connecting to the hearts and minds of the people that you're trying to convince. When you focus on communicating value rather than just activities, you transform from being seen as just another contributor to becoming an essential asset to the team, to the company. The secret here is to turn every what I do into why it matters for them. Now I get it. The ability to communicate your value with clarity doesn't come naturally to everyone. It's a skill, though, that you can absolutely learn. So early on in my consulting days, this is probably about 15, 20 years ago now, what felt like a challenge then turned into my biggest advantage right now. So working for a consulting firm meant I was constantly pitching myself to different companies. It's just how the industry works. So yes, I'm getting paid a salary from this management consulting company. I am employed, benefits, and all the things. However, how management consulting works is you are always shopping yourself to different clients and companies for work. And so sometimes the project for me lasted anywhere from 3 months to 6 months. I've had 6-week projects. And so I was always interviewing with either a project management team or the client and updating my resume so that different clients, companies, project teams, whatever, could review it. And so, sure, it was nerve-wracking being in this constant pick me mindset. I was always kind of overwhelmed and anxious when a project would be near complete. And within the last 3 months or the last 3 weeks of the project, here I am searching yet again. And this would happen multiple times a year. But it forced me to master something invaluable, adapting my communication style for different audiences and continuously refining my pitch, my spiel based on the company or the person that I was trying to sell myself to. And so this brings me to why I created this mini workshop called Communicate Your Value on December 5th. It's a Thursday, I believe. I'm hosting a special session. If you're struggling to showcase your achievements, you're looking to sell yourself or your ideas more confidently, or you feel like you're constantly underselling yourself, this workshop is for you. So during the 60-minute workshop, you'll learn about my MVP formula. It stands for Mission, Value, Promise. You'll also learn how to use it to craft a compelling narrative about yourself, about some of the ideas that you have and why it matters. And so ultimately, I just want you to walk away with an ability to transform your expertise into powerful value statements that command the attention of the people in the room, okay? Because it's all about the people. It's not about you. It's all about the people. It's all about connecting with the hearts and minds. And your girl is going to prepare you to do that. But here's what else makes this workshop different. One, it's only $27, which I don't know if I'm ever putting a $27 price tag on a workshop again, but we'll cross that bridge when I decide to do another workshop in 2025, okay? That's what makes it really different. And it's also intimate. And so ideally, I would only like to have maybe no more than 10 people because it's a week before Thanksgiving. It's Black Friday. And part of the Black Friday deal is that you get a free 45-minute one-to-one session with the kid, Candia. Okay? And so I'd love to see my podcast listeners there. Make sure you let me know when you register if you are from the podcast so I can show you a little extra love. Ooh. I say all of that to say this. Even if you say, Candia, this workshop is not in my plans right now, that's okay. Here's what I'm going to leave you with. Because if you are a regular schmegular on the Candid Conversations podcast, you know you're going to get some mindset and you know you're going to get homework, something for you to do, okay? Something for you to put into practice. And so here's the thing. As we wind down toward the end of the year, I would encourage you, like I've been encouraging the leaders that I work with, either in one-on-one or in my group sessions. One, quantify and qualify your impact for 2024. I want you to think back over the last year, whether it's revenue, you helped someone save time or reduce the time. The numbers tell a story, so get clear on your numbers, okay? So I want you to work on quantifying your impact by tracking some measurable results. You can qualify your impact by highlighting the how behind those results. So you want to think about what specific skills, energy, or unique strengths did you bring to the table that made the difference? And then take it a step further and ask for feedback. Feedback can be both developmental and also positive. And I want to focus on positive feedback right now. Sometimes the things we overlook or downplay about ourselves are exactly what makes us shine, exactly what is value for someone else. And so a few years ago, I gather feedback from a few of my repeat corporate clients who typically book me for workshops every year throughout the year. Some of them will book me for 7 months or 6 months. And then some of them will just ask me to come back once a year for a national meeting and things of that sort. And guess what? I recognize a few common denominators. The top reason that they keep bringing me back, one was my energy. The second reason was my frameworks and actionable insights. That feedback alone completely shifted how I typically sell myself for future projects, because the energy and the actionable insights was the number one reason, or the top two reasons, why people return to me, why people retain me. And ideally, I was leading with my number of years of experience and the types of projects I've worked on, but I was overlooking one, the energy, because don't nobody want to sit in no boring training. Okay, Candia gonna bring all the flavor. You gonna laugh. We gonna listen to music, even as we talk about some challenging topics for leaders, like delegating, dealing with conflict, and all the things. Now, before that feedback, I was really stuck on trying to figure out what makes me unique or what makes me different. The thing is, what I know now is that's a poor question because it's really not about what makes you unique. It's about what makes you connect. What makes you connect with the specific person or the group of individuals or the company that you are trying to gain buy-in from. So when I talk about connection points, again, that comes down to the heart and mind. And so I go back to making sure that people are not only buying into my words and my frameworks, but more importantly, they're buying into my energy. They think to themselves, Candia knows how my world works. She knows the challenges I face in my world and how they're different than what everyone else is facing. And so that connection is what they're also buying into. And lastly, I want you to do this. Celebrate your wins. Okay. If no one else is throwing you a parade, be your own hype squad. Celebrate the work that you've put in this year because it absolutely matters. We can't sit around waiting for someone else to acknowledge us. You've got to learn how to acknowledge yourself. You have to take the time to acknowledge yourself. This isn't just about feeling good. It's about walking into 2025 with clarity and confidence. So what's one strength you're owning loudly this year? Drop it in the comments. I also want to cheer you on. Send me an email, hello@CandiaJohnson.com. Okay, party people, this is it for me today. If this episode resonated in your spirit in any way, share it with your people so they can share it with their people. Okay. Oh, and leave me a 5-star review. I need some more reviews this year. And I know y'all listening because I've been reviewing my analytics. So I know I got some listeners out there. Okay. I appreciate you. Bye.